When was the first Interurban made?
Oh my gosh, I'm not sure the year. The Indiana Interurban was the largest interurban, think subway, line in the country. And basically, every community in the state of Indiana had an interurban station, and you could ride the interurban into downtown Indianapolis. And people used it to commute to work. Basically, everybody, if you look at the annual ridership of the Indiana Interurban, everybody in the state rode it at least twice, in a year. It was very, very popular, very, very popular. And the Interurban came through Atlanta, of course, like everywhere else. And just north of Atlanta, the Indiana Interurban had to cross over the nickel plate track, and the viaduct is still there. Concrete viaduct is still there, and it is super scary to look at. To imagine a 46-foot car barreling along and going up and over. It's like something we'd see in a speed chase movie. And the train station for the Interurban is just over here, 2 blocks to the east, and it's now a private residence. So it was very big in Indiana. Indiana invented a lot of things. You probably don't know this, like cruise control in your car. That was invented in Hagerstown, Indiana. The crash doors on your school that you push and they open. That was invented in Indiana after a theater fire in Chicago. An engineer here invented that. I mean, there's a list of like cafeteria. When you push a tray and pick your food, that was invented in Indiana. I mean, there's lots of innovation that comes out of Indiana, and the Indiana Interurban was just one thing.
So if you were a student back then, you would have taken the interurban to school instead of school buses. So they used to hop on the interurban to get to school at the old Heights, and there was a school here in Atlanta. There's one over in White River Township. So yeah, you would have had a lot of fun on those. And you've probably heard about the Red Line bus down in Indy.
I don't think so.
Okay, they started a commuter line basically down in Indy, kind of mimicking the old interurban. And when they excavated College Avenue, they were stunned to discover that there were tracks underneath the road. And those were the old interurban tracks. They're still underground.
How many communities did it connect? Every community in the state was along the interurban line, and they were constantly moving around. It was pretty awesome.
It looked kind of like a trolley car or a bus, just a single car zipping along. And what, 46, 50 people
Yep,
could sit on it.
it's like almost 60 feet long,
So it really helped connect
and
the
they were orange
communities.
and green. They were painted orange and green. And they
Mr.
were,
Muffin's favorite colors, by the
yeah,
way.
that's right. They were beautiful.
There's an effort to
I do not have a model of an interurban, and I have a book at home. I should have brought it. There are
um,
secretly two interurban cars hidden in a barn in northern Hamilton County. I won't tell you where they're at, but they're hidden, waiting to be restored. And it's a barn that's in the middle of a farm field, not near a road. You have to hike in there to see them, but you open the barn door, and there's these two interurban cars sitting in a barn. They got salvaged from the ITM in Noblesville, and secretly they got squirreled away in the middle of the night and parked in a barn, waiting for money to restore them. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah.
Do you know
yeah.
why they were painted orange and green?
No, I don't know. That was their color scheme, and they went with they're principally orange with green windows and green stripes, and they're very pretty. Um, yeah, they were just awesome. You know, I wish we still had the Indiana Interurban.
Yeah, it was an amazing asset, really, to connect communities. And if you think about all the remote rural areas, they were all interconnected to it. So you didn't have a car, of course, back then you didn't have cars or a horse and buggy. You could take the interurban and zip into town, go visit your relatives. How fast did it go?
30 miles an hour.
That was pretty
Yeah, pretty
fast.
fast.
Was it cheap or expensive?
It wasn't very expensive. I mean, people rode it to school, so a dime, 20 cents, something like that.
And
Maybe they had a pass, like the buses in Indy. I don't know.
they had tokens.
Yeah, they did have
They did
tokens.
have tokens.
Yep.
I have one around here somewhere. Sorry, I don't know where it is. But yeah, that was really cool, and it's kind of a loss, but it's a great part of our history. And you know, if you think about our communities up here, Noblesville, of course, is the county seat, and so you were connected to that to go in and do all sorts of things. Farmers could go do business with their banks. So yeah, mom could go shopping. Who does that? But yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful thing for Indiana. One of the other interesting things in Indiana is I'm sure you've heard of union stations across the, New York has one. Um, you want to talk about that?
Well, in the old days, every railroad built their own train station. You had Penn Station in New York for Pennsylvania Railroad. New York Central had their own railroad. And the Indianapolis people thought that that was way too expensive. So this idea that they would build one big train station that would serve all the railroads. And because it was after the Civil War, they called it a union station. It was a union of all the railroads. So the first union station in the United States was built in Indianapolis. And then after they did that, then Cincinnati and all these other towns copied that idea of a union station. And you think about it, if we hadn't done that, we wouldn't have airports because the airport is modeled after a union station. All the airlines use the same field, right? I mean, imagine if each airline built their own field. That would have been awful, right? So the concept of a union station that started here in Indianapolis.
And the Nickel Plate Railroad is what came through here. So the railroad tracks through Atlanta are the Nickel Plate line, and that is what connects. It goes what? How far north does it go?
Well, this is a spur basically that goes from Tipton down to Indianapolis. So the Nickel Plate line was an east-west line, so it ran through Tipton, Frankfort, towns to the north. And so how it got to Indianapolis is it would turn off of that line and head down past us all the way into Indianapolis, and that's how it got in and out. And so that nickel plate was only one way in and one way out. This is the only track on the nickel plate that went to Indianapolis.
What else would you like to know?
I think that's it.
That it?
All
Well,
right.
thank you so much.
Well, thank you.